Hey guys, so I'm on a lunch break from work and I decided to go ahead and tell people my near death experience. So I like to call it the outer body experience that I had. That was a few years ago and that has changed me forever. I must say that throughout my childhood, I was always very high clairvoyant, which means me and my mom were the same, and my grandma from my mother's side. So we used to just feel people before other people could figure them out, and we knew when bad things were about to happen. We kind of felt something inside, and of course, when people pass, and if you have presence of what we call what some of you call ghosts, I like to refer to souls, or just they're people, unless they're demons. So we used to feel and sense their presence. So, but I was never religious. I was never, I was skeptical in a way, even though I knew it exists. Like I didn't know that you can just experience something like that on this earth and survive to tell about it. I just thought that once you cross over, then you'll be able to really see and feel and know what it's like to be a spirit outside of this earthly quote unquote prison called body. So, make a long story short, so I was working at the maximum security prison in Menard, Illinois at the time, and we used to be very short staffed, so they used to mandate us to work overtime, countless hours. And I was the night shift guy in the worst cell house. We were the worst inmates, and I just sensed and felt the agony of that place. Just the whole place was a place of bad vibes, bad energies, and agony. And I remember it used to make me not sleep at night and or during the day after my night shift. So working those countless hours and commuting to work for about an hour and a half every day each way. I one day was driving back home and in the morning, and all I remember that apparently I fell asleep. Maybe, I don't know, for a split second my eyes were closed, I guess, and then my wheel locked at 70 miles an hour. My brakes locked. Everything just locked. I couldn't do anything. The car would not react, and it would just hydroplane, just twisting, like doing donuts in 70 miles an hour. And I did not want to hit anybody on that freeway. So I remember with everything I had, I was swerving, turning the wheel to the right. I hit a utility pole, and apparently I rolled over 5 to 6 times and ended up in the middle of that field. Now, after the first hit, when I remember the airbag deploying, and then I don't remember anything until I was already flipped over, and I just remember opening my eyes, knowing exactly what happened, knowing exactly where I was, knowing exactly the situation and what happened to my car, and the fact that I was in this accident. Like, none of that felt weird. Like, I was in the same spot, stuck. But the only thing that surprised me was that at the time there was no sound whatsoever. It was the most peaceful feeling as far as physical peace, like no sounds, no distractions. And it just got better and better. And I remember that there was actually no sense at all. Like, I couldn't smell anything, I couldn't hear anything. Like I said, I could only see, and I could not feel anything. Like, I would expect that physical pain to start happening, and then it never did. So I was really, really confused. But I remember a part of me said, I'm in so much peace. So I was trying to get out of the car, and it was just so surreal. Like, there was nothing that bothered me. Like, there was not even thoughts. Like, it was just me existing in peace. And I was trying to kick the door, and I was buried in the mud, and the whole car was crushed on me, on my leg, and I couldn't move. But again, I wasn't in pain. So I'm like, just everything is so slow motion, and there's no sound again, like I said. And I'm trying to kick the door just to get out, and I can't. And all of a sudden, I see that lady dressed in black, and she was dressed in one of those, I don't know, 18th century kind of dresses. And she had a headscarf on. And I remember she was in her mid 60s, and she had a burn scar on one of her cheeks. I don't remember if it was the right or the left, But that lady was very, very, very mad looking, or just bitter looking, and she was pacing back and forth. And I remember that I was trying to yell, scream, but again, there was no sound. Like the sound was sucked out of this reality for some reason. And I was just like, it's all like a mime, you know. I'm like making movements with my hands, like, hey, help, help. She's looking at me, and all she does, she like waves no, like, I will not, you know, I will not come and help you. But she didn't say anything, and she was just pacing back and forth. And I didn't judge her at the time, because I thought, oh, maybe that lady is just scared to mess with the car that just got crashed, and she didn't want to. She was maybe too nervous or too scared to give me any kind of medical attention in case, you know, she would do any damage. So I didn't judge her. I remember that I wanted to gain some more strength, so I closed my eyes, and the second I opened my eyes, I remember that reality just started. First of all, the radio was still on. There was smoke, there was smells, blood was coming up my forehead, and it was just very loud and a lot of people. And I just felt the pain in my leg, and I felt the headache and the soreness. And I remember this paramedic just came to the window. He just broke the window and gave me IV through the window. And I tell him, I was like, hey, why are you giving me IV? Why don't you get me out of here? And he was like, I can't. The firefighters are on their way. So they had to use the jaws of life, those hydraulic devices, to tear the car apart and get me out. And I remember while they were doing it, I was just so confused, because a minute ago I was fine and everything was fine, and now this happens. And what happened is that they just got me out and loaded me up to the ambulance. And I remember there was a sheriff deputy lady that was there writing a report. And I remember just being very confused. And I asked the lady, I said, ma'am, can I ask you a question? She said, yes, sure. And I said, well, is it against the law for a civilian to not assist another civilian in distress? And she was like, it depends. Why? Like, what are you talking about? I was like, well, that lady was pacing there and I wanted help, and she never helped me. And then the police officer said, she said, we were the first in the scene. There were no ladies. There was nobody there. You were in the middle of a field. And I was like, it doesn't make any sense. I saw her. And she was like, no, we were the first to get to you. And that made me wonder what was going on and what happened to me and where I was. And that was just miracle number one. And I remember miracle number two is while I'm in the trauma room there in the ER, they just take me to x-rays and CT scans and all that stuff. And I remember an hour after, the doctor comes to me and he was like, I've been here 25 years and I've never seen anything like that. And I was like, what is it, doctor? I mean, am I going to be okay? He was like, well, you don't even have a bruise. I'm sending you home. You're fine. You're not even scratched. And that type of impact, that type of accident, and some of you saw the pictures on previous posts. He said maybe 5% survive such an accident, and even those who do survive it end up in the wheelchair for the rest of their lives. So you were somehow lucky. So I was always trying to figure out who that lady was and what was my purpose. But I want to tell you, because of my experience, I know that every NDE is different, because everybody got a different soul, everybody got a different message, everybody got a different consciousness. Some people believe, some people are skeptics. So the NDE is going to be revolving around your lifestyle, your beliefs, your knowledge, your spiritual strength, spiritual level, I guess. Thanks for listening to my story, and I'd like to investigate more. And talk about it more professionally in front of a professional camera and somebody who researched those things. So, but this is an awesome group, and stay cool, everybody. Take care.